Welcome everyone to this week's IPLD sync meeting. It's January the 30th, 2023, and as every 2 weeks we go over the stuff that people have worked on and then discuss any open agenda items or also if there are questions or any other things. So everyone attending, please put your name on the attendees list. I will go through the list. I start with myself. Have a quick update. Finally, in Rust IPLD, we have a DAGPB spec compliant implementation. Thanks, Friedel, for implementing this. It took a long time. And also thanks for the codec fixtures. And now, that's kind of cool because it's been, I think, an issue that has bugged me for a long time, and finally we have it. Good. That's all I have. Next on my list is Rod.
Okay, I've got a grab bag of smallish things, and I'm just going to read through them one by one. And the links are in the notes that will be in GitHub if you're looking at this afterwards. But okay, there's a new releases of GoCar out yesterday. Mainly just updating dependencies and a few very minor things. But the notable thing here is that we're putting binaries finally on the downloads on the releases page. So if you want to just grab binaries for the car command line, you can grab them there. And I would suggest that it's actually really worthwhile if you do anything with cars, if you use them. The GoCar is where we put most of our just random utilities that we use to inspect and debug car files. So the car command is really useful. It's got an ls, it's got version, it's got a debug, which is really interesting. It'll actually show you a text version of all the block contents, and you can even rewrite blocks using that. Pretty funky. So have a look at that. And if you've got other stuff you want to put in the car command line, we just sort of shove stuff in there. Go multi-codec has a new release. It's just it was supposed to be auto updating and it wasn't, so it's now updated with the latest multi-codec table, and we'll be able to keep that up to date automatically now. I have a PR up for let me just I didn't put the link in there for a JSON form of the multi-codec table. It's just a proposal at the moment, and there it is, 311. Let me put it in the link in the thing. There we go. So multi-codec table. The idea is we have a JSON format of CSV. We leave the CSV. That's not going away. People rely on that. We add a JSON form where we can put more information and we can be more descriptive. So people often want new things in the table, but we can't really change the CSV format without adding stuff to the end of it. It's just a bit unwieldy. So this adds a JSON form. It's just discussion at this stage. I've got a proposal up with some notes about that. Yesterday I put a pull request up to GoCar that has a car v1 writable block store interface that writes to a streaming IO writer. So this does two things. Streaming car is not a new thing so much, because you're just really writing out the bytes. Car v2 is different, but car v1 you can just stream out. But this does it with the block store interface, so you can use it as a Go block store for where you need to plug a block store in. So as long as you're only doing writes, then you're fine. But it'll also support has and get size. So it'll support everything but get and delete, which is pretty interesting. So you can pretend that there's a block store here, but it's really just spitting bytes out over the network and keeping track of which CIDs have been written. JS car, thanks to Hugo and others, now has a car buffer reader, which is a fully synchronous reader. So you just give it the bytes and you can read out of it. You could do that before, but you had to use the await to do it, and it would just because the interface allows for synchronous and asynchronous, but this one is if you just want to completely skip asynchronous work at all and just give it the bytes and get back a reader. So that's now released. Just notice on Go IPLD tool, I've archived that repo. We just don't have enough bandwidth to maintain it. We have some people showing up to want to do things with it, which is unfortunate, but there are a few people using it, but it's just such an early stage project and nobody's maintaining it. And I'm pretty much the only one that can show up and say, hey, let me review your code. And I don't have time to review everyone's code for that. So unfortunately, I've had to archive it for now until we have bandwidth to actively maintain it. And finally, there is a discussion. It's going on in JS car, but it might not be the right place to do it. But a discussion on what a validated block store interface might look like for JS. And the reason it's in JS car is that you came up with car gets used as a block store where you can, read and write blocks, and it's not validated, so it doesn't check that the block matches the CID, which is a bit of a problem in JavaScript because the main issue with doing that automatically is that having the hash functions available is really hard. So we can get easy ones in every environment. So the SHA-2256 is available in the browser and in Node. But anything novel and you're in trouble. Whereas in Go, you just pull in Go multi-hash and all the standard use ones are in there. So there's a desire for having the interface, having the block store do the validation, but what does it look like to make those hash functions available? And what do you do when you don't have them available? That's just an initial discussion there, but it would be nice to have something roughly generic that could be reused in various places, because there's a number of places where we do this really basic block store thing. You have an interface that's got to get and put, and you want to validate on the gets. So anyway, there's an issue there linked. So that's me. Anyway, Nathaniel.
Thank you. Lozen and I here, we're at a conference. It might be a little bit loud in the background. Apologies. I'll let us know if you can't hear us. But yeah, so I'm a new member of the Freebox team, looking to help out, contribute in many ways via Rust, and specifically looking at DAG Jose implementation in IPLD. So I've got that PR up. Volker, I just saw your review that came in last night, which is great. So at least for me last night. And so yeah, the review sounds good. Generally just add it to a new repo and then potentially use the serialization directly as opposed to reusing DAG keyboard. I'm not quite familiar with the other repo, but I'll go look at it and take a look. But yeah, happy to help out how I can.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, just one comment, because I feel really sorry that basically you've spent so much work on implementing it this way, and now I say, well, this might not be the right way to do it, but just I also have basically so little time to maintain the whole thing, so I kind of yeah, the documentation isn't good and it's still hard to figure out where to find things. But yeah, so but still I really hope to be helpful and so on. So if you have anything, just ping me.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, like I said, I'll take a look at the repo and I'll probably have questions, but I'll send them your way. And is the best way to do that via Slack or just on the PR? Either is fine for me.
Either is fine. So on Slack, just yeah. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Falk is pretty responsive on GitHub, so
okay.
Yeah.
Great. I think that's it for me. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I guess I'll go next. Not much on the IPLD side, except for that one PR that's been around for a little bit. Right, if you do get a chance, if you can take a look, it was kind of going in a different direction towards the end, but it was mostly done for the first approach. So when you do get a chance, you can let me know what you think about the second approach, the first approach. I know you probably lost a bit of context. Now it's getting a little bit, but I could change the code back to the initial version that was more tested and had performance numbers and everything. The second one is definitely way more intrusive because it kind of touches the guts of the node implementations. So I was myself hesitant to go deep into IPLD. But it is more generic about the advantage. That was one of the things we discussed in one of the, like you and I discussed in the PR and direction. It's definitely more generic, definitely more intrusive. The previous one was more standalone, would have been, we just needed to figure out the packaging for that. So.
Yeah, to be honest, I have to apologize because, to be honest, I didn't know the ball was in my court. I didn't realize that it was waiting for review. So that's definitely on my list. But yeah, so this adds plain map and plain, is it plain list as well?
Yeah, it tweaks. The last few couple of commits were a little more prototypey than I wanted them to be, just because I kind of wanted to see what was doable. But the general approach did seem to work of updating the base node implementation.
I was having a conversation with someone yesterday on in Go IPLD Prime about they had the expectation that they could use it like the JSON unmarshaller and get back a map string interface. And it's not really how it works, but this kind of gets us a little bit closer to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, there is another PR I had. I'll have to look back at it again to see how it would fit with this stuff now. In the state it's in, that actually does try to have a more like intuitive DX with maps and lists and stuff. So I can look at that.
Okay. Yep. Great. Yeah. Apologies again, but I'll definitely I will try and get this reviewed and commented on this week.
It's not super urgent. I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, no, it's been in the list, and it comes up every time we do a review of the list, and I was just in my head it was like, we're waiting for Mohsin to get some time to get back to this, but I didn't realize it was actually on me to review it. So apologies.
Yeah, no worries. Cool. Yeah, that was it for me.
Cool. All right. Anything else people want to discuss or talk about or have questions? Also, feel free to ask about the Rust stuff or whatever. Yeah, there's a question or
quick question before you go into the rusty weed and get attacked by crabs. I was wondering, like two weeks ago, I vaguely remember at the end of the meeting you said something about like two different sort of mutually exclusive proposals, one by you, one by Mauve, and I was like looking into the notes and I couldn't find the link. I was just wondering if you remember what I'm talking about from that goofy description.
Yeah. So so was it the, so it was either the stuff that I looked into with the context, or was it the IPLD pathing? What's it called? The IPLD URL thing?
I thought it was the CID v2 stuff, wasn't it?
Okay, yeah. So basically, this CID v2 is so I have the link should be in the old hackpad. So there was the proposal I have, and then I discovered, like, I think right after the meeting or the day after, I discovered that it's basically the same thing as having two CIDs, kind of. And there is another proposal that I would like to write down, which I haven't found the time, which would be different. I'm not sure if Mauve has a different one. I'm not sure what you are referring to.
That part may be something I misheard or misunderstood. I thought there was a IPIP PR or issue by Mauve that was like an alternate solution to the problem, or a solution for the problem in a different problem space or something. But I scratch that part if it's not ringing any bells.
But we're poking around in different spaces of that problem set, and we're trying to come up with various solutions. So there are conflicting ideas here, but nothing's
Okay.
Yeah.
but I can certainly link to the one that I think I've looked.
Oh, I found
Yeah.
I found that link actually. I was
Okay. Yeah.
I was actually trying to figure out if these are like ready for discussion yet, but it
Yeah.
sounds like you don't want to.
No, like
you
so.
want to keep working on it.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just like basically yes. So my conclusion was it's basically two CIDs in the end. So basically, so it was while I was writing it, it all made sense, and then I will do it again, and it was like, okay, that's basically just two CIDs, and why not then using two CIDs? It's just might be easier. Yeah, but there's the other idea I have, which makes, so the short version is I want to make, or the idea came up that you really treat, or you add to IPFS kind of like an endpoint for like multi-codecs, and you basically have multi-codec and then something, as it currently is kind of, but then you would have, for example, a context multi-codec, and then whatever you like specific to this codec. And then, for example, even CIDs would be just a case of that one, because in CID you can treat the CID version as a codec, and then say, well, we have a CID, and now the endpoint knows what to do because it knows about the CID codec. And then you can have your context codec, or you can have your whatever you like codec, and kind of like doing it this way, kind of to be able to add your custom things or interpretation to things. Might be an idea, but it's I need to like more thinking and write it down.
Like a semantics path that the same, you take your CID to IPFS to get the contents, and you take it to context to get the second thing, the semantic thing.
So it would be more like you basically have the multi-codec for context, and let's say we specify that after the multi-codec context you have a hash, and that's the context you want to load. And then basically you have an endpoint that says interpret my multi-codecs. And in our case, that what we've talked about is it understands the context codec, but in theory it could be anything. So it could even be a new codec, or it could be even you put it just the CID, and it understands the CID codec, the CID multi-codec, and then knows, oh, it's a CID. Oh, if it's a CID, you only want to get the bytes back. Or you introduce your new multi-codec, which is, let's say, streaming video file codec, and it has then some metadata after it, but it knows how to interpret what comes next, because your implementation of IPFS understands, oh, it's the multimedia streaming codec. Kind of like having an abstraction on top of like the codecs really, and then go from there. But which is already like a concept we kind of have, because we have those multi-codecs, and multi-codec plus thing could be more general purpose. But I would like to, like, if I would do something with context today, like honestly, if I would do something today, I would probably just use two CIDs and be done. Is my current point of view, but we'll see.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or follow-up questions, or
No, that's good. That helps. Thanks. And don't let me steal any more time from the urgent Rust onboarding.
No, like if I don't know if there's any Rust questions, or if I should explain something, or I'm happy to.
I think I've got pretty good direction. I just took a peek from what you're suggesting. Effectively, it's instead of using the DAG Seaboard drive macro, use Certa directly to make all the bindings, and then there's a mapping of Certa to DAG Seaboard, which makes a lot of sense. So, I guess my first just simple mechanical question is: Does this new repo also make sense? Do we want it to live in the IPLD org on GitHub, or do we want it to live like inside some ceramic umbrella?
Like whatever works for you. So I personally would prefer if it would be outside, to be honest, because it's kind of like at least kind of like my expectations is that if it lives under the IPLD organization, it's kind of like the people involved in all this take care of it. is what I personally expect from those repos. And if it's not really the case, then I think it would be better if it would be outside. And I also like, so actually the whole Rust IPLD repo lived for a long time somewhere else. And was then just basically, was kind of like abandoned, and we took it over. And then when we moved it to IPLD it was easier. But I would be happy to really have things separate, because I think ideally we end up with also like other codecs that people just do and live somewhere else. So it's not like this centralized thing, but somewhere else. And also but I'm, for example, happy to if you, for example, create this new repo, we should also put a link into the libIPLD repo saying, well, there's other codecs as well, and so on, so that people can.
And in the DAG Jose spec on the page for DAG Jose, we have a list of implementations, I think. So
yeah, I saw that. I was hoping to be able to get it there as well. So
yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, just to agree with the Volker there. Anything in the IPLD org, and same with multi-formats, is that there's an assumption that that we will show up and fix things, and just we're either too stretched or don't have the expertise. That's why I've been archiving a lot of stuff recently, just because, like last week I archived a closure script and a C# implementation of multi-formats because people are showing up with pull requests. I don't have expertise to do it, and we don't have anyone else around to help review. Don't know who to trust with that stuff, so we can't just publish this stuff and say and sort of have it under the official banner, and people assume that it's all good without being able to know that. So we would prefer, I think, that people do stuff out and about, and we sort of, it's better for this ecosystem to be more fractured rather than centralized, just for its own health.
Yeah, I concur. Just clarifying. And and we obviously intend to maintain this ourselves, so that makes sense in that regard as well. So
cool. Yeah, that's good. It's good to see the Go DAG Jose. It seems to be, I don't know if it's actually actively maintained, but it's pretty minimal.
Yeah,
the JavaScript one is where all the effort goes into.
Yeah, the Go one is also under the ceramic and relax Go DAG Jose. If there's stuff that's missing in there, do let me know.
Well, I think isn't it? It does the basic work, but it doesn't do a lot of the utility work. I think the JavaScript one is where you can really interface with it and create new data as a user. It's much easier, whereas the Go one is much more just consuming the data and So
well, I'll go back and take a look at it.
Yeah, and also. Yeah, and also if you put it on your own repository, but basically have a question or something, feel free to ping me on Git, and just I'm happy to help out on other repositories, obviously. So just because especially the service stuff is I'm still even if I've used it now for years, I'm still struggling. Sometimes it's just so hard to get it working. So if you have problems there, it's just it is so difficult. If you feel lost, it is that difficult. So so feel free to ping me if you need any help.
You can pull me in as well. I've messed around a bit with the DAG Jose stuff, so I do have it in my head, and I'm doing some stuff that's DAG Jose adjacent at the moment just for fun. But it's interesting to see the work. I'm just not as useful with Rust. So
yes, so basically I would be more useful with Rust rather than DAG Jose, which I'm not really familiar with. So so perfect. You have two people for both problems. So perfect.
Great.
All right. Cool. If there isn't anything else, then I close the meeting. Feel free to stay around for the after party if there's anything you want to talk about which shouldn't be live streamed. And then see you all again in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.